You're listening to Locked On Now NHL, local experts on the biggest stories around the ice. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and thanks so much for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. Our Locked On NHL hosts are here to help break down everything from Sunday night. Let's start with the biggest game.
The biggest game.
The Calgary Flames have now won 10 games this season, and 7 of them have come in shutouts, including the matchup against Boston on Sunday. Locked On Flames explains how Calgary managed to make it look easy in a 4-0 win.
Well, the Flames did it again. They have earned their 7th shutout of the season against the Boston Bruins on the road, wrapping up yet another long road trip, 11 games. So the Flames will be back in Calgary later this week. And something to note is that Andrew Mangiapane now has 15 goals on the season. He had 2 against the Islanders and 1 tonight in Boston. So he is on a roll. And Gaudreau opened up the night with obviously the first goal of the game, and it was very nice to see, especially because I know that he had family there. So you know what? Go Flames, go. I hope everybody who has doubted them is eating crow right now, and we'll catch you throughout the week. Locked On Flames.
Locked On Bruins called this one not pretty, and that was just the start of the criticism in an ugly loss for Boston to end the weekend.
I honestly don't know what was sadder to watch here on Sunday evening, the Boston Bruins losing 4-0 to Dan Vladar and the Calgary Flames, or Jimmy being dropped off at the 4-6 Ranch in Texas on Yellowstone. This is Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Boston Bruins, and after the Black and Gold defeated the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday by a score of 5-2, they came back on home ice and dropped a 4-0 decision at the hands of the Calgary Flames. Can't blame the back-to-back situation, as the Flames had played the Islanders last night as well and came out on the winning side of this one. The Flames outshot the Bruins 31-27, and Dan Vladar recorded his second shutout of the season. His goalie partner in Jacob Markstrom has 5 shutouts, so you can get a sense of the stifling defensive game that they play, and the Flames really took advantage of their opportunities, whereas the Bruins, who went 0-3 on the power play, simply couldn't get the offense going. Jake DeBrusk led the way with 4 shots on goal, as did Mike Riley. But again, the Bruins held off the score sheet, shut out by former Bruins goalie Dan Vladar, and they'll be back on the ice in a couple nights against the Buffalo Sabres to try to get back on the winning side of things. Please subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins for all the latest on the Black and Gold, and we'll talk about this game in full and the whole weekend.
Now, the Minnesota Wild made a name for themselves early on in the season with several comeback wins, but there just wasn't enough shootout luck in Tampa last night for them to get a win on that one. Locked On Wild tells us how Minnesota suffered its first overtime loss of the year.
Another crazy comeback bid that comes up just short. Hey everybody, Seth Topol, host of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, recapping the Wild's 5-4 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning in a shootout. The Wild pick up their first overtime loss of the season. They get 2 goals with an extra attacker late in the third period to send the game into overtime. Kevin Fiala and Joel Eriksson Ek getting the Wild's 6th and 7th goals with a 6th attacker and an empty net this season, which has been just an unbelievable stat that they've been able to come back that many times. And when you look at it, the Wild playing the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning and coming up a goal short in both games, got to feel pretty good about playing 2 of the best teams in the NHL pretty tough. The goaltending, however, for the Wild starting to become a concern, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on moving forward. For more on the Minnesota Wild, make sure to check out Locked On Wild wherever you listen to podcasts.
Coming up next, we go around the ice from the NHL on Sunday. I'm Kim Becker, and this is Locked On Now. All right, guys, I am here to tell you about the best tasting protein bar ever. No lie, Built Bar is the best protein bar you will ever have. If you haven't tried it by now, I promise you're missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it honestly doesn't taste like one. It tastes like a candy bar. It is soft. It is covered in 100% real chocolate, and it comes in so many flavors. Let me just tell you a few of them right now. Coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, chocolate almond, salted caramel. See, I couldn't even say it because I was so excited about it. Salted caramel, the best flavor, hands down. Double chocolate and cherry Garcia. And this month, Built Bar is coming out with new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So make sure that you check their website so that you can stay up to date on what those flavors will be. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off of your order. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15 and you get 15% off your entire order at built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Now NHL. I'm Kim Becker, and let's take a look at the rest of the action from around the league on Sunday.
Let's go around the league.
The New York Islanders lost their 6th game in a row on Sunday at the hands of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Locked On Islanders has the recap on yet another L.
The Islanders' losing streak hits 6 games as they fall short to the Leafs at the UBS Arena. Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders here. Another poor performance by the Islanders. They fall 3-0 to Toronto. Islanders have no offensive jump right now, just completely unable to get anything going. And look, it's not hard to figure out why. So many players, so many key offensive players and defensive players out of the lineup right now, most of them in COVID protocol, losing players mid-game. Brock Nelson lost during the game. This team isn't playing well even before all the COVID hit, but right now they are struggling. Don't even have enough players to put out on the ice to put an effective NHL team together, and it's really showing. So disappointing performance. You want more energy from this team, and they're really not creating any chances offensively because they're outmanned. And when you're outmanned, you have to outwork your opponent. They're not doing that. For more, listen to the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get podcasts.
The Seattle Kraken ended a 6-game losing streak at home by scoring 5 goals on the Washington Capitals. Locked On Kraken fills you in on what clicked for Seattle on Sunday.
37 saves by Philip Grubauer. 2 Seattle Kraken players. We had Adam Larson and Kalle Järnkrok get on the board, get their first Seattle Kraken goal, and Jared McCann opens the scoring for the Seattle Kraken with none other than a first period power play goal. My name is Erica Lindsay Ayala. Those are some of the top stories that are coming out of this 5-2 win over the Washington Capitals at Climate Pledge Arena. I said that this team needed to start off strong. They did concede the first goal of the game to Washington, but then they get the first power play goal, a much needed power play goal, 7th of the season for Jared McCann. The Seattle Kraken owned the second frame, and when things got tough and Washington was pushing back, you saw them come together. Philip Grubauer had a fantastic performance. We need more of that Philip Grubauer. Now that he knows what it feels like, now that this team knows what a team win feels like, the next step is consistency. Looking forward to it. We'll talk about it more on Locked On Kraken.
And the Arizona Coyotes pulled off an upset on the road in overtime over the Kings on Sunday. Arizona won for just the 3rd time this season, and Locked On Coyotes tells you how it happened.
Can somebody say point streak for the Arizona Coyotes? What an impressive performance that they've got going for them. Everyone, I'm Robin Leano of Locked On Coyotes, and I can say nothing short of the fact that I'm impressed. 7 points in 8 games. Back-to-back overtime wins over the Detroit Red Wings and the Los Angeles Kings. This team finding ways to win. Don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it. Young guys coming back to make a huge difference. Let's give another shout out to also once again to Shane Gostisbehere for being another point leader for the Arizona Coyotes, getting an assist on the game tying goal on Sunday. But I want to give the biggest shout out to Kyle Capobianco, who got the GWG on Sunday and has been looking good since returning from a long-term injury. And a kid who has constantly battled injury over the last few seasons, coming up from Tucson, being sent back down, etc., etc. So his performance the last few games, very well deserved. I'm super glad to see the kid doing well. We'll have to break all this down. What's going on at the Coyotes? Can they keep this up? We'll talk more about that on the next episode of Locked On Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's a wrap for us. Thank you so much for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. For more on the National Hockey League and your favorite team, make your second listen Locked On NHL and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kim Becker. This has been Locked On Now, Locked On your team every day.